Okay, this would be our last topic for this semester. Okay, but we still have another class, which is next week, because we do have a few things to finish up, uh, especially on the assessment. I will explain at the end of the class anyway. Okay, now let's go into this topic, project monitoring and control. So the word project monitoring and control. Okay, now let me write something here. At the beginning of this semester, if you can still remember, I show you one figure, okay, which basically I mentioned it is a very important figure that reflect all of our topic that we are going to go through. First, I draw something like this, scope, and then I put triangle here, call it cost, and then time, and then quality, safety and health, and then environment. So what is this thing? This is basically the objective of project management. Okay, construction management, project management is all interrelated. Okay, so when we manage a project, we are being expected by the client who pay us to finish the project according to the scope of work, within the budget, within the time frame, and maintaining the quality as in the specification, and nobody basically die, injured, or at least to the minimum level. And then at the same time, we are protecting the environment during the construction activity, or even during the life cycle of a project. Okay, this is what we call project objective. And then in order to achieve that, we need to use what I call resources. Resources, I call it 5 M's: man, machine, material, and then money, and lastly is basically method. We need to basically utilize as best as possible man, machine, material, or to minimize the cost. And how are we going to manage that? This is what we call true management process. Okay, management process, we start with the planning. And then there are so many management process: organizing, and we can say staffing, directing, communicating, coordination, even forecasting, etc., etc. And the last part is basically monitoring and control. So we are now into the last portion. Even though we do not cover as detailed as compared to planning, we do cover this thing as very detailed, because planning is very important in project management. We consider as the heart of project management. We do cover one topic on organizing, but we do not cover so much on directing, staffing, communication, in fact, motivating. There are so many aspects in management which we do not cover in detail. If, for instance, um, after you complete your bachelor degree, you want to further study in project management. Project management, basically, you will study a lot more in terms of business aspect and human aspect. If you take master in construction management, then perhaps we will zoom more on how to manage construction project. That could be the difference between two. Okay, but our topic is about project monitoring and control. In short, we the whole picture here, we can just simply draw something like this. In short, P D C A. I already shown you this diagram. P D C A. This is the cycle. What is P? P is plan. D is do. C is check. What is check? Check is similar to monitoring. What is A? A is basically act. Act is similar to, this is what we call act. This is what we call check. In ISO management system, all systems basically use PDCA concept. That would be the brief, the simplified version, but the longer version would be here: planning, organizing, staffing, etc., etc. That's what we call management process. So monitoring. So what is monitoring? Monitoring is to gather information, to collect information. That's why you call collect, record, report information of what is going on. In such a way, this is what we call project status. People always ask, what is the current status of your project? So, in order to answer that question, you must collect information first and analyze the information in statistical manner, whatever things, so that you can explain to people, okay, now your project is maybe 20% in terms of financial progress or physical progress. You can show them picture. Picture is one form of recording. In a graphic way, people can understand easily instead of people looking at the report, just show them picture, then everything settled. They could understand. Okay, that is basically monitoring, is to get information, to collect data, to basically reflect the status of the project. But then, if for instance, you figure out that from your data that you collected, there are high number of accidents in terms of safety, for instance. So are you going to do something or not? For sure, you must act. So act is the word associated with taking action or putting action in order to rectify the problem, in order to catch up. If, for instance, you are experiencing some kind of delays, so what shall you do? You need to catch up, isn't it? So that is what we call act. Okay, control the situation so that the delay will not be so big that at the end of the day you will end up basically have to pay the penalty because you encroach into the deadline, and then there could be issue with the high number of injuries or death. There could be issue with regard to the environment, etc., etc. So everything you need to take action and rectify those things. Okay, so that's why monitoring and control always being put together. It is like planning and scheduling. So if you do not learn about the terminology, you might assume that planning and scheduling is the same thing, but they are related, interrelated, but the term itself do have some kind of differences. So similarly, project monitoring and control are always being put together, but monitoring is just means to gather the information. But then once you have the information, what shall you do? And that will be the controlling aspect. Okay, why do we monitor? What, when, and how? Simply because we know that things don't always get according to what we plan. There is no such thing as perfect plan. In simple wording, no such thing as perfect plan. You can plan, Because you know what, planning do have element of forecasting. Nobody plans something which you already have. Planning means you plan something which you do not have yet. That's what we call planning. So basically, you never know what would be happening in the next, even next year or even next day. You also do not know. Not to mention if you do planning for long term, like 5 years, then a lot of things happening while you are trying to get into that duration. Okay, so there is no such thing as perfect plan, but we are not going to be demotivated with that statement. That statement basically tell us that we need to be prepared. We need to collect the information, and we need to react. Okay, to react accordingly, so that we get into what we wish for. Okay, so this is what we call, we detect and react appropriately. Detect mean monitor. React mean we take action or control. Okay, what do we monitor? What are the things? Man, etc., etc. If you go back to this figure here, actually, all these elements that I draw inside here, scope can be monitored. Quality, cost, safety and health, environment, time, man, machine, material, money. We have seen cash flow. We learn about cash flow. That's how we monitor cash flow. Uh, for the first time, we just do the cash flow forecasting, but we never know. In reality, the cash flow that we forecast might not be according to what we plan. It could be we could be running short of money even faster than what we plan. So what shall we do? Okay, the work method. If we choose the work method wrongly, then we are going to see the it could affect our cost, quality, and etc. So what do we monitor? We can monitor man, machine, material, money, space. What is this space is all about? Space basically related to your work area. How much space do you have? Sometimes you are given a very small space, especially when you are working in urban area, or you just basically have to construct something in the middle of a two existing building, very tight spot. But even by giving that kind of space, we can always manage. That's why we need to plan properly. We need to manage the space so that we put the priority right. Okay, so even the spacing also we need to manage. Not to mention the time and the task. Task is basically the activities. Okay, so that's why we need to have WBS accurately. If you do planning, one of the most important thing that you do first is basically come out with the WBS. Because if you miss one of the tasks, there is probably that you are going to end up with not constructing something very important. It is always happen in the construction. People miss to construct something in the building. Then they need to rectify. Once you rectify, basically you are going to lose on time already. And then the quality aspect and other performance. There are many performance are being needed even by the client or your own organization. So it depends. What exactly that you want to monitor? Everything can. Okay, what do we monitor in terms of input and output? Time in terms of what? Progress. This is what we call physical progress. The terminology that we already mentioned last week. Okay, this week, this lecture, we are going to mention it again. And then money, financial progress. Okay, financial progress. Resources. Okay, job start. When do we start the work so that we want to bring in the resources the right timing. You do not want to bring your machinery too early or too late, just in time. You might perhaps heard about JIT. JIT is one of the terminology being used in manufacturing. We call it just in time. Okay, just in time. Perhaps when you are facing very limited space, especially working in the urban area, so this concept could be very helpful. Okay, you simply cannot bring your uh, material um, a lot at one time because you simply do not have space to put in. Okay, but you can just use the concept being used in manufacturing and apply into construction. Okay, and then what? Quality engineering, design changes, VO, variation order. Okay, so even variation order you need to monitor because sometimes it will grow and it can affect your the cost of the project, and it can also affect the time. If you do not monitor or record them, at the end of the day, you will end up with putting more money than what it is needed. Okay. When do we monitor? Is it if we are looking at this diagram, it looks like this one is at the end of the cycle there, or even this diagram, it looks like this one is at the end of the cycle, but it is not, we do not read like that, okay? Monitoring and control have to be implemented during the construction stage while you are doing work. So all of this thing is basically correct. It depends on what basically you want to report to. At the end of the project, for sure, at the end of the project, when you want to wrap up or when you want to close the account, so everything has to be collected. Remember, monitoring is a process of collecting all the data. So otherwise, account cannot be closed. Sometimes it will take a few months even after the project completed because of there are certain things missing. Continuously, yes, because talking about you want to take action, you want to take action while there is still time. There is no point that you wait until at the end of the project, then only you want to take action. No, that is not the concept. Regularly, yes, you need to have some kind of interval, even to draw the S curve. Remember, the S curve is being plotted against time, the period of project duration. Is it weekly, monthly? So in order to plot the curve, let's say monthly, for sure you need to have those what we call a certain update, okay, regularly updated. Logically, okay, you might not want to um, monitor everything, okay, at one go, because sometimes it is too much work. Normally, sometimes when there is an accident happening at one particular spot, then everybody will react to that kind of situation. People will put more attention at that particular spot compared to the normal days, isn't it? That is when the logic will be there, okay, because that is a problematic area, okay. While there is still time to react, yes, that is true. You cannot wait until the end of the project because it is too late to react, then you cannot rectify the problems. As soon as possible, yes, especially with regard to accident or with regard to the quality control issue, okay? You do not want, let's say, your workers has been doing things not according to the quality standard, uh, and the task is still ongoing, so you need to stop those things to rectify. Otherwise, they will continue to do the work without the proper instruction. At task completion, yes, at the end of certain tasks, for sure you need to update. Okay, later on, after we completed this slide, I will go through on the Microsoft project again a little bit so that you can continue or you can have some idea how to update a project in relation to this topic. at the pre-planned decision or milestone. Milestone is the important event or certain date. In construction, normally we set certain date, important date, especially at the end of phase 1, phase 2, etc., etc. So that could be the controlling point, so that the client will hold on you responsible to complete certain thing at that particular date. Where do we monitor? Is it at the headquarters? Yes, that is also true, because in construction industry, if you are contractor, main contractor, your headquarters could be in KL, but then your project could be all around Malaysia. If you're a big company, you could get project in JB, in Ipoh, in Penang, in Kuching, KK, whatever. Okay, so people in the headquarters, especially the boss, always wanted to know what could be the status of the project from their side. Okay, so the project people have to report to the headquarters. Similarly, even in our country, the Public Work Department, JKR, which basically represent what we call which is basically a government agency that handle all the public project, but the project are all around Malaysia. So each of the district will basically report to the state JKR agency, but then they will report to the headquarters. But they do have what we call computer software. They call it SCALA, SKALA. So in commercial software, we call it Project Management Information System. Okay, so you don't have to go to the headquarters to bring all the information. You just basically put everything in front of your computer, and then people at the headquarters can see what could be the current progress. At the site office, for sure, this is where everything is happening at this site. On the spot, especially with regard to the quality, safety issue. Okay, when accident happen at that particular spot, then that particular spot will be the so-called hotspot. Okay, everybody is looking at those things and start paying more attention to that particular area. Otherwise, work will go on as normal, but when something happen, normally that could be the reaction. Depend on situation. Okay, so it depends on situation. If necessary, then basically you do the monitoring closely. Okay, how do we monitor? There are so many methods to monitor. Meeting is one of the monitoring tools. Why? Because in the meeting, so basically a lot of decision will be made during the meeting. Important decision will be decided, and then you put everything into the minutes of meeting, and that thing will be recorded, and the information could be used as legal document when there are argument, because they have decided during the meeting. And during the meeting also, people will assign you responsibility, and next week when they conduct another meeting, they will start asking you, have you done the task given to you last week? If for instance you have not done that, you better do something. Okay, then for schedule, updated network diagram, updated Gantt chart, etc. Perhaps I can show you in the Microsoft project. Okay, after this, using earned value analysis. Okay, EVA. Certain ratios, milestone, report, test and inspection. You know what? In construction, we do have a lot of testing. You have learned a lot of testing during your third year, second year, whatever. You have done a lot of lab. structural lab, material lab, hydraulic, environment, etc., etc. And you learn how to produce report based on certain testing. So those testing basically will come back to you when you start working. You will see those kind of testing. Perhaps not all, depend on where you work basically. Why why do we need to do testing? Testing is basically related to the quality control. Okay, when you do this testing like slump tests, like strength test for concrete, then you have to produce report. Okay, so those report testing and report is a mean. Okay, is a mean for the quality control, because quality, you can take a look at certain thing on surface only, but you never know what is inside. So in order to get the real what we call the real strength, for instance, you need to perform certain tests. Okay, so testing is very important. Delivery and staggered delivery. Even how to control material, you control through the process of delivery. Late delivery, and then when the material are being delivered, some of the material has been broken already. You need to basically record and return back. So those things basically affect your management process actually. And then project management information system. This is software. You can develop your own, or even you can basically buy commercial software in order to monitor and then control your project properly. Okay, properly. So we already mentioned about meeting. Meeting is a very important tool whereby everything basically happen during the meeting. So basically, it can be very effective tool in project monitoring. Monitor progress against schedule. Okay, schedule meaning to say time. But we do not simply in recent terminology changes by Project Management Institute, they would like they basically use schedule instead of time, because they simply say time is very difficult to manage because it is more abstract. But when we mention schedule, meaning to say we can assign the start of a certain activity and the end of certain activity. That is what we call schedule. Okay, monitor progress against schedule, meaning to say related to time. Okay, and then the differences between plan versus actual. Let's draw one simple S curve here. This is what we call plan, and then later on we do have actual. So you see there is a differences. So the differences is what we call deviation, or in another word, is we call it variance. Okay, variance. Anything that basically different from the original plan, we call it deviation or variance. Monitor the project cost and expended effort. Expended effort, this is like what we have learned last week, is a project cash flow forecasting. Okay, this is related to cost. Okay, remember in our last week, we do learn about two curve. One is called cash out, and then another one is basically cash in payment. Then the differences is basically the cash required for the project. So even that thing also you can monitor. Okay, a few monitoring method other than what we mentioned: time measurement, cost measurement, labor time measurement, work quantity management. So in our slide, we are just going to explain a few examples only related to this one. Okay, there are a lot more you can read. Monitoring could be achieved by site visit. Because why? Site visit will give you direct observation. It is better than reading from the report or just by looking at the picture or progress photo. Go to the actual construction site and see by yourself. That is the best information that you can get. Okay, but nowadays perhaps we can use drone instead of going to the site. We can basically use the webcam, so we can get the information as if we are there also. Progress photo. Progress photo has been used a long time ago. Okay, when you submit progress claim to the client, normally progress photo will be part of the progress report, because from progress photo people can see, oh, okay, now you already achieve or finish construction to what floor, etc., etc. But when you give picture, you do take from the same angle. Okay, there is perhaps a reference point so that people can always measure. But nowadays, since we already have the webcam, or even some company might use drone, whatever, in order to capture the real progress, that would be better compared to progress photo. Check off list or checklist. So checklist is always a tool being used for a long time. You can develop many checklists. You can simply Google checklist to check what? To check scaffolding, to check crane, to check the concrete work, rebar work, anything. People have already developed checklists. So if you have that checklist, you can basically put into the handphone, or what we call iPad or whatever. Then basically when you go to the construction site, you just simply observe and then tick the necessary box, and then they will analyze and give you to what extent the quality being achieved or whatnot easily. Okay, that is the purpose of checklist. Work schedule, bar chart, and network diagram can be used as monitoring. Okay, later on I will show you some of these being mentioned here. Okay, all right. Time measurement. Okay, now let's zoom in into time measurement, which is very commonly element being measured. Okay, being measured even until now. I've just give you the basic of time measurement. Okay, now let's go. Cost measurement is another one, and then labor time management, and then work quantity management. Let's zoom in into time management first. Okay, we have shown you this kind of bar chart before in last week class. Okay, let's assume that we do have activity. Okay, a few activity 1 until 9, and then the bar chart being shown there in weekly. Okay, so the project will run for 12 weeks, and whereas we do have 9 activity. Okay, now let's go when we talk about time. Okay, time measurement. So for sure, we are going to relate to duration of activity. Okay, duration of activities. So perhaps first thing first, the first week. Okay, on the first week, go down the column of the first week. Take a look at what could be the activity running for the first week. So it looks like on the activity 1, number 1, partially here. And how long is that activity will be running? So because it will run for the full 1 week, so we put down here 1, the number is 1. And on the second week, there are 2 activity running, and both of them run for 2 full weeks, so 2. The third week, there are 3 activity running, 3 weeks. Fourth week, also 3 weeks here. And then the fifth week, There are a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4, and similarly. So you will get this numbering. Okay, this is what we call work effort. Work effort, or basically time being spent in order to execute the activity. Okay, and then if you take that thing cumulatively, this is what we call cumulative. Okay, cumulative duration. Cumulative duration. So at the end of the first week, in terms of project duration, is 1. At the end of the second week, 1 plus 2 equal to 3 here. 3 plus 3 above will be 6. 6 plus 3 equal to 9. And you will get 36. What is this 36? This is basically time spent in order to complete all the activities. The project duration is different. Here, project duration is only 12 weeks, but the time spent or the work effort is basically 36 weeks, because some of the activity are being done overlap. Otherwise, if you do start to start relationship, finish to start relationship, it will take longer. Okay, so based on this figure here, you can basically plot what we call S-curve. Okay, you can plot S-curve. This S-curve meaning to say 36 weeks or 100%. And the smallest value 1 here, 1. Okay, so 1 here, you can divide 1 equal to 36 times 100%. So you will get certain percentage. That percentage could be equivalent to this small here, the first point there. And then 3 divided by 36 could be this point. 6 divided by 36 could be this point if you converted that thing into percentage. Okay, normally we would convert the vertical column into percentage, whereas the horizontal column remain as the project duration or the timing of the project. Okay, as not to be confused with the issue. We are using the week here, and then the horizontal also the week, and people get confused which one is we are referring to. Okay, all right, the idea is that is for us to construct this S-curve, and this is what we call plan. Okay, this plan. And you know what, in the Microsoft project that I asked you to complete, okay, in the video, part 2 video is basically is telling us how to construct this what we call S-curve, the targeted S-curve based on certain interval, so that we get all these value. Okay, we get all this value, how to generate this value. So Microsoft project already have this S-curve, but then the issue is that if you want to present the S-curve to the client according to certain time scale, either it could be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, then basically you need to customize. So that is what exercise in my folder number 2 is all about. Okay, just to come up with the so-called plan. Okay, then what happened? Okay, the plan is the plan S-curve is the one that we can generate immediately after we completed the what we call the project scheduling, and we already input all the necessary costs. Then we can just simply generate. Then I would say the most difficult one about Microsoft project is to do tracking. In Microsoft project, they use the word tracking. So the tracking is basically similar to monitoring. So the most difficult thing is about using any software is to understand this thing. To construct network diagram is very easy once you have all the data. But then tracking involves the real things. You need to collect the real information based on what is happening at the construction site, and then input that thing into the computer, and then computer will automatically will give you immediate output. And how do you interpret that output, and how are you going to react to that output? The computer only give you whatever thing that you input in terms of the process output, but then computer do not make decision. It is only up to you how to decide. So computer only give you some kind of indicator or values. You are the one that have to propose to tell your boss, we are running late and we need to do something. Okay. Okay. Now let's assume this thick line here is basically what we call plan, based on this figure here. Okay. Based on this figure, so we get the plan. Then when the real time come, let's say you plan the work is going to start on the 1st February, okay, coming February. Then for sure, when the February start, 1st February, then encroach into first day, second day, third day until the first week. So at the end of the first week, let's say you monitor that thing every day, and then you want to update into your software, whatever, then suddenly you will notice that you are going to get this dotted line. This is what we call actual. Okay, so to plot the actual graph, that is what we call monitoring, because monitoring is the process of collecting data. So what is the output? The output is this graph. You get this graph. If, for instance, your work is just to collect data and to plot the data, so basically you already fulfill your obligation. Okay, I already collected data and then put that thing into the Excel, whatever. I plot very nice graph. Okay, I will show to the boss. Okay, so having those data is good, but where do you go from there? That is when you need the control. You need to react, to act. Okay. So you notice the first week already it looks like your project is behind schedule, and then the second week also behind schedule. The third week, even until the fourth week. You notice in the fourth week, if you come up with a measurement or report, for instance, okay, you notice your plan is 25%, but from your actual, the line there, 70%. So if you take a simple mathematic, 25 minus 7, that could be around 8% delay on the fourth week. Okay. Then if you do nothing, okay, you still thinking that it is still okay, then until your 8th week, which is almost at the end of the project, 4 more weeks left, you notice that you are supposed to reach 75%, but it looks like you already managed to complete the project 42%, which now is around 33% already. And you know what? 33% by definition, according to contract, you should have been kicked out of the project already. Because in, I think, Malaysian contract, they only allow 20% physical progress, something like that. Okay. So beyond 30% is a lot more than 20%. Okay. So by that time, you should have been terminated already. There is a ground for termination according to the contract. So you do not want that thing to happen. So by right, even you don't have to wait for that particular date to happen at the beginning of the project. Once you see your project is running late, you should act quickly so that this dotted line will basically catch up with this line. Well, never mind. Sometimes you could be ahead of time. The concept is that whatever it is, your dotted line should basically catch up with the whatever that you plan, and you complete the project within the time frame. Then only you can be considered as fulfilling the project performance. Okay, you complete the project according to the time, and then for sure another issue could arise. How about the budget? That could be a different story. But so the concept of monitoring is to gather all the information, to collect information, so that you have the ground to react. Sometimes it is very difficult also to react if you do not have any data. It is like in this COVID situation. Why now we are into PKP 2.0? Okay, because the data that we have, okay, show that things are getting worse, so we need to react. Perhaps later on, when the case has been reduced, then things will be loosened up again. That is the situation. If we do nothing also, then basically we just collecting the data and then report that thing, and then we simply do nothing, and we are waiting for the worst to happen. Okay, so similarly in the construction, that is the concept in terms of the time measurement. Okay, next is what we call cost measurement. Okay, cost measurement. Cost measurement is using the same what we call bar chart. So that's why planning is very important, because a lot of things from the planning we can use for many other things, especially monitoring and control. Without the bar chart, you simply cannot basically even draw the S curve, and then without the S curve, and then how are you going to tell you are running late on whatnot? It is very difficult. Okay, now S curve. This is what we call financial progress. For the S curve, now we are going to use the cost of value. Doesn't matter. Let's assume this is the cost of the project. Cost of the project refer to what you are supposed to spend. Okay, the first activity is 20,000 ringgit, and then the second activity 32,000. If you divide equally, those are the things that you can see on this figure. On the first week, what could be the activity running? Only the first activity partially. So the cost is around 5,000, 5K. Okay, let's assume this is 1,000 K. So 5. And then the second week could be here 8 plus 5, 13. It is similar to what we have learned in the last week. This is what we call normal S curve. The third week will be here. You add those together, you get 23, and then the cumulative. Okay, the cumulative cost of value doesn't matter. This is just to show you how the S curve could be developed. If you are presenting the S curve to the client, for sure you are going to present based on value. Okay, because that is what being mentioned in your contract document. Value mean cost plus profit. Profit is already inside those figures. The client don't have to know. Okay, only you know. So the cumulative is basically the first week is 5, second week 5 plus 13 could be 18, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, this is the amount that you get. Based on that thing, you can plot the S curve. So this is 332K. So similarly, every point here reflect this value. 5K, this is 18 here, 41, 64 here, 104 here, etc., etc. Okay, using these values. But you can always convert that into percentage. How do you convert? Again, you take this value 5 divided by 332 times 100%. So you will get in terms of percentage, and that percentage you will put into this axis. Okay, normally the vertical axis in terms of percentage. You can put in terms of amount. That's okay. Okay, people can understand if you put amount, because the horizontal axis is already in time, and then vertical is the amount. It's still okay, but you can convert that into percentage. And then similarly, this is what we call plan. When the time comes, let's say on the 1st February, the project will start, and then you will start to monitor. Monitor in terms of the work progress. When certain work has been done or being delayed or not being performed yet, in reality, then you calculate the cost that you really spend, not that you have budgeted. The first one is what we call budgeted costs, okay? But now, based on the real thing, then you plot graph. Let's say you get this kind of graph. This is what we call actual costs that we learn in Microsoft project. Actual costs basically reflect, this is what we call planned costs. Maybe we are going to get confused with the word value and cost, okay? But in construction, normally when people talk about a certain project is about to be constructed, people talk about the cost of the project. Well, actually they mean value, but when people do not understand the difference between value and cost, they simply say cost. Okay, so similarly, I'm using the same the same concept also. Sometimes I refer to the cost, meaning to say the cost that we always refer to the cost of the project, for instance. Okay, so you see, if you make some kind of reference, let's say on the 4th week, you draw one thick graph there, you can see there is a differences between the plan and then the actual. This is what we call variance. Okay, normally in this situation the variance will be negative, meaning to say you already spend less. So spending less is not to say it is good. Oh, now you already spend less than what you planned. No, no, no. The concept is that when you spend less, meaning to say there are certain activity you are supposed to do, but you do not do yet because you are running late. So that is the concept. Okay. So in this situation, you are spending less than what you are supposed to do, simply mean that you are running behind. Okay, when you are running behind, what shall you do? So you need to speed up. So the speeding up is the topic that we already cover in time, cost, project, time, cost, trade-off. When you are running late, then you want to catch up. What shall you do? You increase the workforce. You increase number of machine, capacity of the machine. You don't have any holiday break, etc., etc. in order to catch up. You even work at night, weekend, and even have a shift work. Okay, that would be the two example, time and cost measurement. Project cost control. Okay, the normal typical project cost control will start with what we call plan. Okay, the specification normally we refer to the quality. This is what we call time. This is what we call cost, etc., etc. And then we monitor. Okay, and then we compare. Compare is like this one. Okay, one of the reason why we develop the S-curve is to make comparison so that we know where are we standing right now, and then we take action. And you notice that this one, there is a continuous loop. Continuous loop meaning to say you will do this thing again and again until the end of the project. Okay, when the project stop, then only this kind of loop will stop. Okay, so it is not an easy job. Huh? So project monitoring is what we call it's continuous process. You will get tired because it is non-ending. Maybe you have corrected this thing today. You thought everything is running okay, but you never know because you are dealing with a lot of situation like manpower, weather condition. You never know. Okay, things could be changing every day. Okay, so and then time measurement, cost measurement, we already covered. Now we go back to the third one, labor time management. Okay, we already covered this thing, time management. I already show you the bar chart to reflect the physical S curve. Then I already mentioned about financial S curve as well. The concept is the same, but now using cost. And then labor time measurement. Okay, labor time management, we can measure according to man hour or man days or man week. That is quite a common term being used. Man hours meaning to say one man, one laborer, 1 hour of work. If, for instance, that one particular person working for 10 hours, so meaning to say 10 man hours. Okay, if that guy is working for, if there is a 10 guys, 10 times 10 will be 100 man hours. Okay, and then man days in relation to daily works, man week relation to weekly. If, for instance, you plan certain activities, let's say painting work, painting, you plan this painting could be completed in total require 100 man hours. Okay, for instance, and this painting is going to be completed in 10 days, for instance. So you already know your daily productivity is around 10 man hours per day. But let's say it looks like in reality, you only manage to do 8 man hours per day. So what does that thing telling you? Well, you can simply calculate 8 per 10 times 100%. So basically, you already no, sorry, 10 minus 8, 2 per 10, meaning to say you are running late around 20%. So that is one kind of measurement. Okay, even though it is simple, you don't have to use a very complicated measurement scale. The most important thing is that you understand, because what we are doing is basically just to monitor the work. You can use many different way as long as you understand, so that we know, okay, now we are running late. This is just example. And lastly, work quantity measurement. And you notice that there are a lot of work in construction are repetitive in nature. Earthwork, spray tiles, putting ceiling, plastering, painting, etc. are just repetitive. Let's take a look at ceiling. Okay, hanging ceiling, for instance. Hanging ceiling normally use the same panel, the same standard panel. Let's say you have a big area of ceiling that you need to install. You plan again, you plan one day you should cover around 100 square meter, okay, square meter of area one day with all the laborer that you put in. So meaning to say that would be one day, 5 days would be 500 meters, as simple as that. But then you notice that due to many reasons, your workers can only put 70 square meter per day. What does that thing telling you? So from your measurement or data collection, now you know that you are running late. You are supposed to do 100, then you only manage to do 70. That will be a 30% of what we call lagging behind. So you need to catch up. That is the concept. Using a simple measurement that you can observe. All right. So I'm just in this slide. There are only 4 type of measurement we want to go through. It is a simple one. Okay. Now we go into we do have project control. Okay, project control basically is to come up with the action plan. Once we already know that we are running late, doesn't matter what kind of measurement that you do. That is the most important thing. Is just you want to know whether you are running late or not, and then you need to catch up. Okay, so there are a lot of method also in terms of quality control, safety control, cost control, etc., that you can use in order to catch up with the losses. Okay, and in this slide, there are also a few other information given, such as earned value, critical ratio. This one I do not want to cover, okay, because it involves a lot a lot more detail. In project scheduling, normally when we go into earn value, this is what we call advanced level, because you need to understand the earn value, and earn value will take around 3 hours if I give lecture in order to understand the concept, then plus the calculation. Okay, but uh, the earn value or certain ratio can be found in MS project and then in Primavera as well. Once you update your what we call work, you can basically data will be automatically generated, so you can see all these values. But I do not want to go into that. Okay, so our lecture basically just to give you a simple definition of what is monitoring and then control, example of type of measurement, time, cost, labor, and work, and then what could be the control. Control is the how do we react, and even control also do have a lot of technique and method, and we also do not go into that detail. Okay, so quality control is one subject by itself. Even safety control is one subject by itself, so I do not want to go into that. So in conclusion, there are few methods of monitoring work, such as meeting, etc., and you can select which one basically that best suited to you. The most important thing is to get the information data collected or getting the feedback. Okay, and then once you have the data, you will analyze whether that data value is significant or not. If the value is not that significant, it's only small, then basically you don't have to you don't have to react. But you do not forget to still monitor, because even a small thing can grow bigger. But you don't have to react immediately, because you might have a lot of things to do. So you focus on a big value first in terms of deviation. Then that thing require immediate attention. Okay, but the small thing, it is not to say you totally forget. No, you still monitor, but then the reaction can be delayed a little bit because it is not that significant. Okay, so you take control so that your project will be, at the end of the day, still can catch up with the plan. And we go back to our formula: value equal to cost plus profit. And at the beginning of my class, I also show you one slide with regard to one of the intention of doing business, especially for contractor, is to maximize profit. Here, maximize profit. And how to maximize profit? You can only maximize profit by lowering down the costs. You see, the equation is always like that. If you can lower the cost, then the profit will be up. But the issue is that how are you going to lower the construction costs? Only through a proper monitoring and control. Okay, you already do the planning, but then a lot of things you do not get what is your you might not get the targeted profit because due to poor control. Okay, this is one of the issue. Okay, planning is one thing, but sometimes you do planning perfectly, but then you might be lose control on a certain issue. That's why it will be eaten up your profit. So if you want to maximize your profit, so please monitor and control your project closely. Then only you will get your targeted profit, or even you can maximize your profit. If you can reduce material wastage, for instance, by being creative, try to implement 3R, reduce, reuse, and basically recycle. Perhaps you can increase maybe a few percentage, but then you try to catch up with the other kind of control. Perhaps then you will maximize your profit. Okay. All right. That would be the end of the basically lecture for this topic. The remaining slide is not part of the our class. I just gave you for reading purposes only, so don't worry about that. Okay, now let me stop the